Tonight, Dr. Reggie and Dr. Leonard Jeffries and Dr. Patrick, and we are just contemplating a lot of things that's going on in the community today, and the conscious community and the young scholarly community. And we have a lot of young scholars out here today on the internet and so forth, Facebook, YouTube, and on their own websites. But what we are seeing that saddens our hearts a lot is a lot of the young brothers and sisters, or mostly brothers, who are saying they're part of the conscious community and that they're the students of Dr. Clarke and Dr. Ben and Dr. Hilliard. And with the knowledge, and many of them are putting forth a lot of good information, because many books have been written, a lot of scholarly research is being done, but something is following it that has nothing to do with African culture, African history, African spirit, and it is a culture of European intellectual violence that sometimes lead to physical violence. It's a culture of European hatred that's being passed over using consciousness and African culture and history as a forum, where someone will discuss Kemet or discuss African culture, and at the conclusion of that discussion, threatening the well-being and the lives of other brothers and sisters who disagree with them. Or they'll discuss African religion and traditional religion and Kemet and the religious institutions that spawn out of that. And what's coming out today from the young brothers who are talking about being scholars and being conscious is a violence that can only be traced to European Eurocentrism, European consciousness being disguised as African scholarship. African culture, nor African scholarship, nor African history, nor African ancestors has anything to do with threatening the life and the well-being of another brother who you may disagree with on the presentation of information. Because the minute you start talking about that kind of negative, destructive behavior, you're no longer talking about African spirituality, you're no longer talking about African culture, and you're certainly not talking about the normal tradition of African ancestors. So we hope that our young people begin to allow the wisdom that they're espousing to transform the character that they're displaying, so that the youth of today can learn from them and not carry as the baggage the European destruction of hatred, violence, and self-destruction that goes with hatred. Dr. Leonard Jeffries.
Well, certainly, I appreciate the comments of my partner, Professor James Small, who's been a brother in struggle in enormous ways. And I'm not surprised that there's confusion and there's misdirection in the explosion of knowledge that has taken place. Because the explosion of knowledge, particularly over the last 100 years, and particularly over the last 60 or 70 years, has established the truth that African people are the foundation of the human family. That African people evolved into the large brain humanity that produce high culture and civilization. And that knowledge should allow us to dig deeper to find out what those cultures and civilizations were. It should not produce an egoism and an individualism and a predator aggressiveness that has us attacking each other. But that can be explained. Our great brother, Dr. Ray Nobles, very clearly stated, and he's following it through with his great works, that African people suffer greatly from a shattered consciousness and a fractured identity. And so the more knowledge you get about African peoples, it should help you understand that we operated under a value system that was not individualism, it was a value system that was communalism. The 3 C's, I call it: communal, corporate, and collective spiritual development, as opposed to the Europeanness that produces this crass egotism that allows you to kill your brothers based upon a little bit of knowledge taken out of context. So Africans have laid down the path of taking economics, politics, and culture, putting it into systems of development to lift us up to a higher level of consciousness, not take us down to the lower level. So that we have to understand that the more knowledge you obtain, the more you know that you don't know. And so, and you have to be sitting at the feet of the masses who have told you that Dr. Clarke never let ego be a part of his game. He just wanted to share that knowledge and to share it with generations of us. Dr. Ben wanted to make sure that the knowledge was not directed to the elites and to the universities. He wanted the knowledge to be directed to the people so it could be used as a powerful tool of re-socialization and to allow Africans to control their development. So take the knowledge, let it strengthen you, but look yourself in the mirror and don't see an enemy. See somebody that you can love and respect. And when you see similar African peoples wherever they are, realizing that the system of world domination has damaged them. You're dealing with damaged goods. And our role with this knowledge is what we call reparations. Not financial reparations, but spiritual and intellectual reparations. And so this is what we hope that the young people will gather from the knowledge that has been blessed. They've been blessed to receive, and they need to take those blessings and help develop the African family and not to destroy it.
So in closing,
now I want to say something.
it's not that much.
To Dr. Mabry and Dr. Patrick, Elise, I hope that you two don't participate in that negative backing. Both of you grew up with Reggie. You spent almost 2 decades under Dr. Clarke, Dr. Ben, Dr. Jeffries, Dr. Scobie, Dr. Hill, Dr. Bro. You come out of that school. You are their child. And so did Patrick. You come up under you. That you stay on the principles that he taught you. And that's what we expect from both.
Chicken and fish.
So in closing, this is not out to any particular individual. This is about the legacy of Africa coming to our youth. We must, as an African people, apply the thoughts and concepts that our ancestors gave us. That is civilization. That is what we stand on. If we can't stand on our ancestors' words, there will be no victory for Africans. It will be a short-term victory and then it turn into something else. So the elders are really well aware of everything that goes on the internet, right? And they've just taken this moment, right, just in their own voice to say what they hear, what they see, and talk about the conduct of African men to protect the African family, which includes our women and our children, right, and those yet to become. So
ancestors understood sincerely, that you can learn about Ma'at, but it's important for you to do Ma'at. Deal with the truth, righteousness, reciprocity, balance, and harmony, and make that your real aim and goal.
If you're not transformed by the wisdom, you don't have the wisdom. The wisdom only exists when knowledge is appropriately applied. And knowledge can only be appropriately applied when your character is transformed by that knowledge and allow you to become that knowledge as wisdom. So we speak and pray to the young brothers out there and the young sisters. Stop the European predatory behavior when it comes to having debates and discussion. Have debates, disagree, embrace, and plot on how you're going to build the African family. Peace and love.